Representative Luna just told me if I say Immaculate Constellation, I'll be on some list. Maybe a FISA warrant, so come at me, bro, I guess. But
guys, Nancy motherfucking Mace says, come at me. Can't be saying no Immaculate Constellation. Fuck you, guys. I'm saying it. Nancy Mace, she's just so fucking cool, bro. I love that. And there's a lot more things coming out since Matthew Brown has came to light, guys. And thank you for clicking this video, by the way. Stay a while because the best parts are at the end, and this video is just full of such informational things. Okay, I make it easy, digestible to consume. Guys, subscribe, notifications on. We upload every single day. Matthew Brown, all these whistleblowers coming out. We're just gonna be growing, guys. It's a daily grind and it's a fun one, so join us on this journey. Okay, I think I showed you guys my tat already. Check this shit out, guys. Now we're locked in. Okay, we're motherfucking locked in. But in conclusion, yeah, we're gonna be watching this. Yeah, this goes in full length. This is the video I'm gonna do to go in full length on this topic, and I'm so excited to be doing this with you. The actual creator person behind the Immaculate Constellation was on Weaponized, guys, and he goes public for the actual first time. And there's some redacted things about an individual, this and that, but I have an idea about who that might be, and I'm gonna be sharing it with you. Okay, so stay tuned. We're gonna be having fun with this one. It's gonna be an absolute banger today. Trust me, bro. Okay, so let me show you guys the name, the part where this name was redacted. Okay, and this is really significant and extremely important, and they even like showing how sensitive this name is, right? So let me know what you think, and I'll show you what I do, but stay till the end because that's where I talk about the real shit. Okay,
so everyone says that I'm wrong and it's impossible, but the name I recall and recalled at the time thinking, oh, that's odd, was
name redacted.
And did you know who that was?
Vaguely.
You've worked in secret programs. You've got clearances. You've made oaths that you would keep secrets. Let's talk about secrecy and the UAP topic. Shouldn't it be secret to some degree? I mean, we have, there's a race for the technology to try to understand it. We have adversary nations who'd love to get it ahead of us. Why not keep this stuff secret?
Well, if it was just technology that we are worried about protecting and maintaining a military advantage, you know, there's strong arguments to be made and have successfully been made for decades in this country that the American leadership and American people seem to be finding acceptable to be left in the dark about, you know, where science, technology, and their military is taking them. This isn't just technology. This isn't something somebody came up with in a lab and it's sensitive because once the cat's out of the bag, anybody can do it. Fundamentally, this comes from and is secondary to what we've been told is the biggest question, which is humanity alone? The answer is no. And the secrecy that has been defended is at the cost of, in my mind, human dignity, freedom, and progress. And it is no longer permissible or acceptable in my mind to continue this course, to deprive another generation of not just Americans, but humanity of their birthright to know who they are, where they came from, and what's with us.
And this is exactly what everyone's been talking about, right? It's about like people finding out what is humanity, where do we come from. I think the things this person is saying here and how he describes it, and specifically the wording, right? The nature of reality, where they come from. He really hints at what the fuck is going on, and he specifically mentions that we are not alone. Okay, like there's just so much mystery in it, and that's why I love this topic. So to any new viewers who are not too familiar with the Immaculate Constellation happening, basically it's an umbrella program. There's some new information that was received a while ago, additional stuff of Immaculate Constellation, and but a while back you could be put in prison or some serious watch list just for saying that phrase, guys. So yeah, it's really significant. This person is bringing out a lot of details.
It looks like the pattern is that under this Immaculate Constellation, they're gathering UAP images from all over the place.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's the core of it, right?
Right.
Is the idea that we collect data on these UAP, and someone needs to bring them, collate them together to provide intel to who needs it. And we're assuming, or not assuming, it's been pretty laid out, the Immaculate Constellation was a kind of place to bring everything together to provide those briefings to senior leadership. Is that correct?
I don't know about to provide briefings, but definitely to collect data from the military intelligence enterprise specifically, and the sensors associated with that. And yes, to collect that data, centralize it, and have it there for presumably both analysis and, operational needs.
So now that we have a reasonable amount of knowledge and knowing of what Immaculate Constellation really is, now we're going to go into what was recently discovered, the documentation that this individual, Matthew Brown, has come across that is actually classified, but I think that it's called a spillage of some sort. And now he's able to talk about this somewhat, and he is really worried, and he thinks that this is the right thing to do, which I admire about this man. It's the right thing to do to bring this to the public attention.
So because you're a workaholic and you're curious and you read a lot, you come across a file that really is what leads us to being here today. It's the Schreiber file.
Yeah, so it was labeled 2018 Schreiber War Game. Might have been brief or something else, but that's it. There's nothing about that screams, it's a very interesting thing. In fact, usually a lot of war game briefs are pretty boring. So there's nothing that stood out about it.
Accidental exposure for you.
100%.
So my guy here, he is just at work at a late hour one good Tuesday night, and he's just opening stuff, closing stuff, seeing this war games thing. He's just, checking the stuff out. And essentially, I think he was tasked to find things that is not supposed to be as public as even on that secure network, and that are there accidentally, and he has to escalate to a higher secrecy. I think that's pretty much what his job entails to that regard. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and don't go anywhere because this shit gets good, okay?
You go into it, and what do you see?
There's just a generic title slide. There's a banner without classification markings that just says Immaculate Constellation. And it has a placeholder slide that shows like the Schreiber Schreiber Air Base logo and some logos of the units involved. But at that time, I believe it would have still been like Air Force Space Command adjacent. So still nothing particularly stunning. I think the name at the top, probably just the name of the exercise. So the next slide, though, is where it gets interesting, because the face of Lou Elizondo is on that next slide. And I was not who I was expecting to see. And it was accompanied by text to summarize. Please have some grace with me. It's been 7 years, but it was saying that Immaculate Constellation is an unacknowledged special access program established after the exposure of ATIP in 2017 by former USDI officer Lou Elizondo.
So it seems Lou Elizondo has gained some new ground in credibility, which is really interesting for the fact that Stephen Greer and the Skywatchers, Jacob Barber, because I don't know if Jake really did this, but Stephen Greer does, and Jake gives Stephen Greer a lot of credibility. But Greer, like, he absolutely goes off on Lou Elizondo and says he's still working for the department, he's a disinformation agent, and now there's this credibility given to him by Matthew Brown. Is this like a counter intel? Is that what this is? Like, how do you guys perceive this? Like, two really credible people that disagree and hate each other, right? It's bound to release something really good. Something that obviously they will try to do stuff to prove they are right and the other wrong. So it's going to be interesting to see what comes out of that.
So the next slide, the third slide about, just jumps straight into the mission of the SAP and showing what apparently the results of that mission are. And it's a collection incident in the Pacific Ocean. The subject of collection is several Russian naval intelligence vessels in the middle of the ocean at night. And above those vessels is a large black triangle floating in the air. This is a still image, but it is color.
This is a pretty interesting image here.
It is. Right? And then the text that accompanies it describes the incident.
And what can you tell us about it?
The summary of that is just how it unfolded. I should actually back up and say the image itself was unique. This isn't by a plane or a satellite. It looks to be a image pretty close to the waterline. So something that to me read is we have a clandestine submersible asset close by this fleet, and it's taking pictures, trying to stay unnoticed. And so, yes, in the description, it basically lays out what occurred that night, which was that our collection assets were there in area monitoring Russian naval vessels. Not sure what they're doing there, but they've been hanging out in the middle of the ocean in this place apparently for a few days. Keep an eye on them. And this night, while they are observing the Russian vessels, a large black triangle materializes or decloaks or something. The point is it did not move. It appeared directly above these ships, probably no more than 200 meters, pretty close. And interestingly, as noted in the report itself, there was no visible reaction from these vessels from what would almost certainly be considered a hostile approach.
What do you take away from that? They didn't notice it, or they're not upset about it, or they don't know what to do with it, or what?
So the implication also in the text describing it was, the analysis in the text was that the Russian Navy had foreknowledge that this vehicle would appear in that area of the ocean, and they were there specifically to either collect on it themselves or to interact with it in some way.
Any indication that it might be theirs, that they knew it's going to be there because they control it?
Not in that document. And I haven't seen anything to make me think that they controlled that particular craft, but didn't see anything to the contrary either.
I guess it could be that they've seen it before, that there's nothing they can do about it, so don't get excited about it.
Might be, although it is interesting, if it's something that's part of their environment, as it were, why are they making an effort to be in this space at this time to collect on something they already know about?
Is it like in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah, it's off the coast of Kamchatka, as I recall, in the Pacific Ocean.
That's what struck me. I mean, my mind goes to the idea that they were kind of camped out, deep kind of ocean in this one specific area durationally. It kind of implies to me, if I'm thinking outside the box here, there's some form of comms or communication with whoever the operators are of this craft. Am I going too far with that idea? Or?
I think it's a reasonable one to have, but it's not one that I can validate.
So he's pretty much basically talking about this case, and there's the documentation that he found was supposedly a bunch of slides with informational things about what Immaculate Constellation was trying to do. They were observing Russians at one point, because the Russians somehow knew that this thing would decloak or dematerialize into existence at that spot. So it's really weird. I also saw on Twitter some shit about these sources or whatever not going over roads, which is really weird. Twitter is just crazy. Not that I'm giving it any possibility of being true, but it's just interesting stuff. People are coming out with all sorts of fucking stuff, right? Maybe it's the disinformation agents being paid by the US government, guys. You can just see 50 people in a room just spreading shit to not let anyone get any ounce of what is actual reality, right? It's an anarchy on warfare, so...
People want to know is what was the mission of Immaculate Constellation as described in the product?
So in the product itself, you had to piece together the mission by reading the whole thing and kind of putting together the parts. It never spelled out fully, as it should, the mission of the SAP. And I assume that's because this is a type of brief where there will be inserts to the deck, which would be inserted by the SAP control officer during the briefing that would provide another level of detail. But based on the information included in there and its description, the mission becomes apparent, and that is a bare minimum. It's the intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance mission of a global nature for UAPs and RVs, ARVs. The hesitation there is some time has passed. One of those acronyms is in there, either RV or ARV, and that is how the triangle in this case was labeled.
It's been 7 years. So as you're reading through this and that you're remembering RV or ARV just for our audience. So RV is, reverse
Reproduction
vehicle.
Yeah.
And the ARV would mean alien, anomalous reproduction.
We see, people in the literature say alien reproduction vehicle. It could just be anomalous
Advanced.
vehicle or advanced. It could be anything that can go after A.
So I wonder, is this not a official term that is known by, or allowed to be known by everyone within government? Like these terms for vehicles, ARVs, is it anomalous or alien reproduction vehicles? Is there not somewhere you can get official documentation on this, or would that be classified? Because, right, it's really weird. I feel like people should know what these abbreviations are. There's a need to know, and this guy definitely has a need to know that. If it's not alien, it's anomalous. Like, what does that even mean? But yeah, we want to learn more. I hope more whistleblowers comes out really soon. We're gonna be covering every single one of them, going through their stories and seeing what looks credible.
You've seen crystal clear at times videos of what appear to be, would you say, non-human intelligence made craft. I mean, what you see evidence that the rest of the world doesn't get to see.
Mm-hmm.
That starts happening.
Yeah. Nothing in those videos necessarily proves it's extraterrestrial or non-human. It certainly is anomalous, exotic, and unexplainable.
And advanced.
Yes.
Beyond our capabilities that you know of?
I don't know.
Beyond our capability, advanced, fucking exotic material / craft. Guys, these are like such keywords for promotion and clickbait and stuff like that, but it's just stuff we all like. It intrigues us, like bombshells being dropped. We just want to get information that has not previously been heard in a wide format. And it's just, I think it's because we're curious minds. I mean, we built the tools, we got better, we started learning about things, and this is all probably because we started eating mushrooms, and now we are a whole bunch of conscious monkeys with anxiety, and we're running around on a planet with gravity. We can't get off of it, and we're circling around a burning planet that provides us energy. What the fuck is reality? Okay.
So it's designated a SAP. You know this is a SAP. It's sitting on a server maybe it shouldn't be on.
Correct.
Right. So I think that's important. And also it seems like it's just a response to the public spillage or exposure that we saw come forward with people like, and specifically Lou Elizondo. This was like an internal classified response to the fact, oh shit, some of this is out now.
Yeah, that's exactly the tone of those words, of that slide. Mm-hmm. That's the implied order of events that led to it being established.
So it's like 2018, maybe.
Yeah, the file was at least last accessed in 2018. I can't remember if it did say, the file creation date or if I looked it up, but I know it was last accessed.
And you see who's accessed it prior to you?
I can.
And what did you see?
So everyone says that I'm wrong and it's impossible, but the name I recalled at the time thinking, oh, that's odd, was
name redacted.
And did you know who that was?
Vaguely. At that time, people are considered superstars in leadership circles, so you just hear names like that, and that's what her name was.
Why would that be impossible? Why are people now in retrospect, why are people telling you that would be impossible?
Oh, she wasn't at the Pentagon then.
Mm-hmm.
Where was she? She was at the Pentagon, to my knowledge, but they're saying she wasn't there.
Right.
Now, did you guys hear that? It sounds like an old beef coming to life again to get settled, and I'm down for it. I think this is about Sarah Graham. I think that's how you say her name. There's some serious inconsistencies, and I do know that the Weaponized crew were mad as fuck at this bitch, right? She came out with some stories claiming the jellyfish UFO was debunked by a team and she wasn't even there, according to some. So that's really significant, and we're going to be checking out more. And do not worry, it's still coming. Keep watching, stay with me, okay? Let's go on this journey together. So, guys, I might be wrong, okay? I see some people think it is Kathleen Hicks is the name, and she works at the Anomaly Resolution Office, Arrow, and yeah, some people think it's her, and we're gonna be checking out the reasoning. But yeah, I might be wrong. Let's check it out. Let me know what you thought originally. If you thought one of these two, like, there's so many to jump to, right?
The Department of Defense is launching a new website for U.S. service members to report UAP sightings. The Pentagon describes the site as a one-stop shop for publicly sharing current findings on UAPs, including declassified photos, videos, and other material on sightings and potential threats. News Nation Washington correspondent Joe Khalil was at the briefing today at the Pentagon where officials announced the new initiative. Tell us all about it, Joe.
Yeah, a couple of changes coming, Elizabeth. That one you just mentioned, the website, they're also getting a little bit of a shakeup in terms of their leadership. All of it, the Pentagon says, is meant to make everything more transparent around UFOs and UAPs for the public. But there are still a lot of questions because what they're releasing is the unclassified material. What about the classified material? Why is that still private, and what is that really? Changes coming to the agency within the Pentagon that investigates UFO reports. ARROW, or the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, will now answer directly to the Deputy Secretary of Defense, Kathleen Hicks.
It highlights the importance of the program to the department and the fact that it has the Deputy Secretary's full attention.
ARROW will soon be publishing a website making publicly available all unclassified UFO reports it has, complete with witness accounts, videos, and pictures, according to Pentagon spokesman General Pat Ryder. A step toward full transparency. In a recent congressional hearing, former Air Force intel officer David Grush claimed under oath he believes the government is running a secret program to reverse engineer non-human origin UFOs, which it has in its possession. A controversial claim, one Grush says is based on interviews he has done with dozens of people who work in national defense.
People started confiding in me. They approached me. I have plenty of current and former senior intelligence officers that came to me, many of which I knew almost my whole career, that confided in me they were a part of a program. They named the program.
We asked the Pentagon whether any of those interviews would be made public or whether any of the people Grush spoke with would be made available to Congress. Are any of those reports going to be published on this website, those interviews?
As I understand it, ARROW is very willing to take any inputs or information and to investigate into claims of UAP. And so if that information is made available to the department, certainly we'll take a look at it.
In 2019, the UAP Task Force Director asked me to identify all special access programs and controlled access programs, also known as SAPs and CAPs, we needed to satisfy our congressionally mandated mission, and we were direct report at the time to the DepSecDef.
Guys, I just think that when we all just get down to everything, I think it all just comes down back to David Grush. I think his testimony shook the whole fucking government, the federal government, and I think he did more good than he even realized. I hope we see more of him soon. I hope to be making more videos about him soon. He's becoming part of the actual government now and helping some representatives like Mace and Luna to make something actually happen that's good for the people. And like we've spoken about a lot, all this classifications, national defense, you can use that up to a point, but you gotta middle ground that shit. You can't just hide everything and not let anybody work on that type of technology at all when it's so game changing. Free energy, guys. Greer has even spoken about this a lot. I don't know how far his truth goes, but to a certain extent and point, I think it's true. And we got to get this stuff out. So yeah, it might be either or with these people. I'm not sure which woman this is, but we're gonna find out and we're gonna talk about it.
So what do you mean if you mention certain whistleblowers? Who?
David Grush.
You can't mention David Grush in certain professional settings or you are fucked.
Yeah, if you're not fired, you are in for a very rough time, is my understanding.
Elizondo?
You know, I didn't hear Elizondo as a no-go word.
Saying David Grush testified in open Congress, so that makes sense. So what have you seen it happen? Have you seen people like mention?
Okay, so David Grush and Lou Elizondo. So in this facility, where is Lou works? No idea. I wonder what would happen if Lou said his name, because Lou is pretty high up in that regard, right? And it kind of gives like some truth, maybe, to Greer's claims that Lou is still working there and he's a disinformation agent. Do you think Lou is part of the Immaculate Constellation setup? Like, how deep does this go? Which people are involved? Is Bigelow involved? Where does that guy fit in? I think he's coming back in a significant way. Chris Bledsoe, I want to see Tim Taylor. I want to see more of that man, more of his team, more of where the fuck they are in the Bahamas, right? We got to figure all this out. If anyone knows anything more, please share it in the comments down below. We can get reading, we can get some content done, and we can make this a really cool place, guys.
His name, how do you become aware you can't even talk about him?
So that specific example, heard from a friend at that agency, that was essentially the word of mouth from management. Nothing written in paper, nothing in emails. Mm-hmm. But from what it sounds like, people got a conversation with their leadership and were told as much as we've just gone over. And his name was absolutely, in the first-hand experience, sort of radioactive in the chat rooms. It would either, all of a sudden, these people that never participate are there really slamming him and slamming the people talking about him.
On the classified internet.
Indeed.
So the men in black are sitting one day at Starbucks eating motherfucking donuts, having a ice frappe, right? And they see their phones getting alert red. Someone has spoken the name that shall not be mentioned. David Grush was said in the ultra secret Cool Kids Club chat. So now we got to go there and badmouth him and keep everything in order, keep the right narratives. Like, it's so fucking gay, right? And how much are these people being paid? Now they just go in that chat and like badmouth. Like, is this their actual job? I'd like a job as fucked as that, so please send it my way. But we'll not be badmouthing anyone that doesn't deserve it, though, which probably is a deal breaker to these folk. Now get ready for the ultimate, the man, the myth, the legend, okay? Tim Burchett, okay? This guy is the shit. He started his YouTube. This guy's a boomer that's gotten cool, okay? He's for UFO transparency. And just a stand-up, honest guy. And I support that and him, therefore, right?
There are two provisions that were deleted from the defense spending bill regarding this requirement to make any information regarding alien spacecraft or alien remains, which might be the most shocking claim, public. And Grush, who we heard from in that Elizabeth Vargas interview, is calling it the greatest failure, the greatest legislative failure in American history. Do you believe that is true?
Yes, ma'am. I don't know about the greatest so far. I would say by the end of the week we might surpass that. But yeah, I had a simple amendment basically on one of the reauthorization bills that just said if a commercial airline pilot spots an anomaly, a UFO or what have you, and makes that report to the FAA, that it would be they'd have to make that report to Congress. Yet I was told the amendment was not even considered, and they said it was because the intelligence community didn't like it, not the committee. Talking about unelected bureaucrats at the Pentagon, and you got to realize the Pentagon has not passed an audit the last 6 times in the history of auditing the Pentagon. Over 1/2 of their assets are unaccounted for, ma'am, and these are the people we trust with our billion, and we rewarded them with, I think, $40 billion new dollars for their mishandling of our tax dollars. This is what's going on, ma'am. The inmates are running the asylum. and we've got to put a stop to this.
It's about broader transparency for you and those of you who are outraged by some of these responses or non-responses, especially from the Defense Department, as you mentioned, not able to tell us exactly where all this money went.
It's black money, bitch. The American public, the taxpayer, will never see a cent of that money again. The deep state has taken it and they've done all this shit to, you know, strengthen themselves. There's been a lot of talk recently about a foreign entity or nation that is not earthbound, right? And that's really weird fucking wording, which kind of gets me excited. But like, when America starts feeling left behind, which is the #1 superpower on the planet, then you know some private entity is kind of in control of the world with the technological leaps that has occurred. They can start their own government. They can fucking do anything that they want. Like, it reminds me of that conspiracy theory of Antarctica that said Hitler and his henchmen escaped to Antarctica and lived in ice caves, and they kept on with their technological developing, and the clock UFO they built, clocky car, what the fuck. So yeah, there's just so much crazy stuff. What if it was that case? Like, imagine that one day them coming out with swastikas, flying everywhere, killing everyone that does not bow to their will. Probably not, but there is a private entity that has really ridiculous technologies that could complicate the entire world.
There is a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse within a system.
Audits and waste, fraud, and abuse are not the same thing. So let's decompose these pieces.
Please educate me on
sure.
What
so an audit is
difference
exactly what you just described,
yes.
which is, do I know what was delivered to which place?
Right.
The ability to pass an audit, or the fact that the DoD has not passed an audit, is not suggestive of waste, fraud, and abuse. That is completely false right there. So
what is
now it's a question of, it's suggestive that we don't have an accurate inventory that we can pull up of what we have where. That is not the same as saying we can't do that because waste, fraud, and abuse has occurred.
So in my world,
yeah,
that's waste.
How is that waste?
If I give you $1 billion and you can't tell me what happened to it, that to me is wasteful. That means you are not responsible. But if you can't tell me where it went, then what am I supposed to think? And when there has been reporting, I mean, this is not, look, I'm not saying this is on you and that you caused this, but I think it's a tough argument to
I'm pretty
make
sure
that
I didn't cause it.
an $850 billion budget to an organization that can't pass an audit and tell you where that money went. Like, I think most people would consider that somewhere in the realm of waste, fraud, or abuse, because they would wonder why that money isn't well accounted for. And especially when they see food insecurity on military bases, and they see...
You want to talk about that? Because that's a good... we should be talking... I mean, I'm trying to understand where you're trying to go, other than the dollars, which really bother you.
I think it doesn't really bother me. I think it's all connected.
Okay.
I think
tell me that story. Tell me how you're thinking about that.
When I see a State Department get a certain amount of money and a military budget be 10 times that, and I see a struggle within government to get people like more basic services, and then that department that got that, I mean, we got out of 20 years of war and the Pentagon got a $50 billion raise. Like, that's shocking to me. Now, I may not understand exactly the ins and outs and the incredible magic of an audit, but I'm a human being who lives on the earth and can't figure out how $850 billion to a department means that the rank and file still have to be on food stamps. Like, to me, that's fucking corruption. I'm sorry. And if that blows your mind, and if you think like that's like a crazy agenda for me to have, I really think that that's institutional thinking, and that it's not looking at the day-to-day reality of the people that you call the greatest fighting force in the world. So I get back to this idea of like, I'm not looking to pick a fight with you, but I am surprised at that the reaction to these questions are, you don't know what an audit is, bucko. Like, that's just weird to me.
Okay.
I think the fact that this woman cannot pass an audit, this entity of government, this behemoth of fucking congestion, right, of waste, of self-enrichment, of killing machines and technologies, and I think they need to pass an audit. That's like a bare minimum for the people. And I think this value has been lost, and I think the new norm is not being checked, not being held accountable for what you do with American taxpayer money and funding. And the audit needs to happen. Doge team, you know, we need to get in there. And all these generals that think they're so fucking cool, oh, we know all this shit, we're gatekeeping it, you don't need to know, we're the important ones, oh, you know, we need to get them to wake the fuck up, and we need to get this information out that is for the people of Earth to know, because we are actually like a hive on this planet, right? We're just moving around, trying to build wealth. We're just like a weird species that does weird shit, but kind of similar to other species in an odd way. And guys, get ready for the next episode of Weaponized.
On the next episode of Weaponized.
When I was in USDI, I read the transcripts of Sean Kirkpatrick briefing Senator Rubio, Senator Warren, and Senator Gillibrand on the results of his investigation in his congressionally tasked ARROW report. You know, I read these transcripts once and immediately knew that
Veiled threat?
No, I knew that I was now something else. I had inside knowledge into the deception of our government by elements of our intelligence community. My blood ran cold at a specific point in that transcript where Mr. Rubio is discussing the legacy program. This was a subject of direct discussion with Sean Kirkpatrick in these meetings. And based on Mr. Kirkpatrick's replies about as vague as they were, but unable to escape the truth of the legacy program, Mr. Rubio's response was, well, what the hell is the executive branch doing? Have they been running this for 60 years without congressional oversight? The process of Grush coming forward left a wake on the inside too. People were tracking that, weren't even involved, but were able to see sort of the distortions on the inside.
Distortions of truth.
Exactly, but also, you know, bureaucracies and offices behaving weirdly. That was one of the moments that really started to convince me that this was not under our government's control.
Here is go back.
Big guy.